Hello and welcome back to Hyperplay. Well, would you Adam and Eve it? No sooner had we donned our pyjamas and settled down with a nice mug of cocoa for the night, thinking that no one's going to get in touch on a Sunday night with anything extraordinary, but lo and behold, our man in China has come in clutch again with the world's first review of the AYANEO Pocket Air Mini. He has peeled off the flimsy screen protector and he is ready to go, and so is the all-laughing Ryu there, and for good reason, as you'll see in the footage later. He has the 2GB model and he says it's got a 4.16-inch screen, interestingly enough, when this was marketed as a 4.2-inch screen. But what's 0.04 inches between friends, eh? The Helio G90T processor, see our previous videos if you're wondering what that can do, and it's packing a 4500 mAh battery to boot. Suffice it to say, our man in China is as ever on the ball and says that the Helio G90T was in the 2019 Redmi Note 8 Pro phone. The G90T on a par with the MediaTek Helio G99 as previously advised, but do bear in mind that the GPU here is a little bit stronger than the G99, though the CPU is a little bit weaker. Hey ho. The Pocket Air Mini comes in two RAM/storage options of the 2 gigs of RAM plus 32 gigs of memory and the 3 gigs plus 64. And our man in China helpfully has the 2GB of RAM SKU and is all set to put it through its paces. A lot of naysaying on the line that the 2 gigs of RAM will not be enough for GameCube and PS2. And long story short, our man thinks that the 2GB of RAM version is absolutely fantastic. Our man in China has boldly claimed that if you can get a PS2 or GameCube game running, then it won't crash due to lack of RAM. The 2GB of RAM version will suffice for many games. And look at this, touchscreen functionality. That's never been shown before on the Pocket Air Mini. In fact, we almost forgot that of course it would have a touchscreen, not advertised as such, but this is a console that continues to surprise and delight. Important to note that when our man in China says that the Pocket Air Mini can't emulate PS2 perfectly, what he means is that many of the PS2 titles, the higher end ones, will require certain tinkering inside the emulator to run nicely. He gives God Hand as an example of a game that can run easily at double resolution, drawing approximately 5 watts. And if you're taxing the system like this, you can expect about 3.5 hours of battery life. Of course, you'll get many more hours of battery life playing the lower end systems. Now, God of War PS2, that quintessential PS2 emulation test, he says you need to utilize Red Ether. We assume he means the settings in Nether SX, or indeed Ether SX, where he is playing at 2 times a resolution, but we believe he has gone in and applied some EE underclocking. Nintendo GameCube and even Wii, much easier to emulate on the AYANEO Pocket Air Mini at 2x resolution, even on this 2GB of RAM SKU. So absolutely fantastic to be able to see GameCube and Wii games running like this in such fine style for $69. 1280 by 960 high resolution display, 4.16 inches of course, and 4:3 in terms of ratio, perfectly suiting these systems, including Dreamcast here, as you can see on the left. PSP God of War, not a problem, running at a silky smooth 3 times resolution on the Pocket Air Mini. And I would draw your attention to the quality of the display. This panel is an absolute beauty. AYANEO very proud of it. AYANEO famous for the quality of their LCD panels, and this is another beaut for sure. Remember, there are 3 colorways: boring old black, that retro power model, our particular favorite, or this red and white design modeled on the original AYANEO Pocket Air, the 5.5-inch OLED big brother to this one. And this isn't marketing hyperbole. You can see how proud AYANEO are of the Pocket Air Mini. And they're saying they are selling it at a loss. And even 16:9 games will run with a 3.5-inch display. So that's how your PSP games will look, perfectly playable and will work nicely. And of course, what's going to work very nicely are all your Game Boy Colors, Game Boy Advance, and so on. Frankly, anything below GameCube and PS2 is going to work an absolute treat and run like a dream. Look at the colors, those pinks and those deep yellows on this magnificently vibrant display. It looks like an absolute treat for the eyes. Games that run in a 3:2 aspect ratio, like GBA games, will show up as a 3.91 inch display. So again, pixel perfect integer easy for us to say, integer scaling on the Pocket Air Mini. What about 3DS games? Well, yes, with the right settings, you can even get some of them to play at double resolution. Of course, only a single screen display. This is no Iron Thor, but it is a fraction of the price. You wouldn't want to put two screens on the same panel like that. But here we go, bit of game streaming. Fully operational with only 10 milliseconds latency. Nice and light too, coming in at 273 grams. Oh, and here's Russ from Retro Game Corps, sporting his Hawaiian trunks. Good of him to put in a guest appearance. I'm sure he and our man in China are very close friends. Excellent ergonomics with those back humps, no hard-edged triggers here, unlike on the Iron Thor, a fine device, but that has been a complaint. Hall effect joysticks and high-quality buttons made with conductive rubber moulded for your tactile pleasure. Wow, he's really enjoying those thumbsticks. Anyway, let's move along, shall we, before we get a little bit too excited. Suffice it to say, AYANEO have been at this a while, and they've taken all their design cues from their other excellent devices and applied them here to produce the ultimate budget handheld 4.16 incher. The only thing that's missing is HDMI out. Would love to have that, and then this really would be an endgame device for our 4x3 systems. But never mind, not to worry, because there is plenty else going on here. And having been told by another YouTuber that it's absolutely nonsense to even test out HDMI because these are handheld consoles, who are we to complain? Ryu certainly isn't complaining over there, is he? Joking aside, on the Pocket Air Mini, even at this budget price, you get many of the factors concomitant with a much higher spec device. You get ISpace, which is AYANEO's own in-house software manager, but also you get different performance modes pulled out from the sidebar, fan speeds. This is something that you would expect on a $200 device, not a $69 handheld. So absolutely stunning stuff. A must-buy, we would say. But come on, our man in China, let's have it compared to other more expensive devices and see how it stacks up. What about up against a Switch Lite? Yes, thank you very much. There it is. Compares favourably. Ah, the RG476H. We can linger on that for a little bit. Very favourable comparison, and nearly a third of the price. Well done, AYANEO. Finally have entered the game, and in a big way. Tales of Fantasia, Super Famicom or PS1, take your pick. All these beautiful games. Thousands and thousands of them are running at an eye-popping 960p. Can't be beaten at this price point. But is it game over? Well, for the competition, maybe. But the Mangmi Air X might have something to say about that. But it's never game over for our man in China. Just one more thing, Columbo. Will your thumb actually hit the stick when you're playing the buttons and the D-pad? Absolutely not, unless you lay it completely flat on top, apparently. Well, this has knocked us flat. This is a fantastic device, the AYANEO Pocket Air Mini. All we need to know, and you need to know, is when will it be released? Well, we have it on good authority. It's going on sale this month, with shipping very soon after, and rightly so, with the Retroid Pocket 6 on the horizon. But as for the Pocket Air Mini's release date, you'll be the first to know, but only if you subscribe to Hyperplay. So, save your progress with us, and please like this video, maybe even hype it, and we'll be back in touch very soon. And all that remains to be said is happy handheld gaming, whether laid up flat or up in the air. Many thanks for watching, take care, and I hope you have a good week. Bye bye.